Today is December 18th, 2021, and that means that it is my 2-year wedding anniversary, which is so weird because I'm literally 21, but a lot of you guys asked me about getting married at the age of 19 and whether I regret it and things like that. And so I just wanted to make this video telling you about how the past 2 years have been and a little bit of our story, I guess. So when I met Emin, I was 18 and I was dating a bunch of terrible men, and I didn't even think that I was going into a serious relationship. Like, I had always wanted one, but I just never really met the right person. And looking back, I was kind of crazy. So I understand why I never got into a serious relationship with anybody, because I just was not in the right place for that. But Emin was the total opposite. He actually had never even called any girl his like serious girlfriend because he didn't want to do that until he genuinely saw a future with somebody. So in August of 2018, I guess he saw a future with me and we started dating like a month after we became friends. So we met each other in March. We kissed for the first time in July, and then we were officially dating in August. So our relationship moved pretty quickly because we just started hanging out with each other every single day. Like, we just became best friends in that time. And the only time we weren't together for the year that we were dating was if we were like out of town. Like, we were with each other every single day. We slept over at each other's houses every single night. Like, we just didn't want to be apart. And so then after a year of dating, literally exactly a year on our 1-year dating anniversary, I came home from like a road trip that I was on, and Emin and I were having a sleepover again, like we always did. And he gave me this candle that he said that he got me for like an anniversary gift. And I opened up the candle to like smell it, and there was a ring taped to the top. Like, literally was Scotch tape, which is so cute. I remember he started crying and he was so nervous, and I was just so in shock. Even though I kind of knew it was coming, like we had talked about it, I was just so in shock. So like, I barely even said anything. I don't even remember what he said, to be honest with you guys. I have no recollection of what he said or what I said or anything. I just remember like the ring and the candle and the fact that we were in my house at like midnight. So then the bad stuff started to happen. Basically, people just really didn't like that we were engaged, and there were a lot of people really close to me who were having conversations with me that I never thought that I would have with people. And I started to feel very uncomfortable and sad and lonely and confused, and like this time that was supposed to be like the best time of my entire life was kind of getting ruined by a lot of people, and it sucked. But there was a huge positive to it. And that was just that it really showed me, I guess, how Emin would be in our marriage, because I essentially broke down. I realized in that time that I had no foundation as like a human being. I had no sense of self. I had no like really strong beliefs for myself. And Emin was the opposite. And like, he was so strong. He was always there for me. Like, he literally was like the stability in like the most confusing time ever. And I just never would have expected that. Like, a 19-year-old boy, oh my God, men are so dumb. Like, no offense, but men can be so dumb and like so aloof and unsupportive and confusing. But like, the reason why I wanted to get married so young and why I didn't care, I wasn't scared, like everything was totally sure for me, was because he was just the most stable and confident person I had ever met in my life. And that really reflected in how he treated me and how he was there for me. Like, it was like unwavering. He was always there for me. Even when I was mean to him, even when I lied to him at times early on in our relationship. Like I said, I was not in a great spot. I was not doing the best in our relationship early on. He was always there to support me no matter what. And it's really interesting because, you know, we got married, things started to get better, like especially with the people who disapproved. Like, people move on, life goes on. People don't think things are that big of a deal in hindsight, I think. You start to see that like the roles shift in your relationship. So like, he was there for me in a really, really, really tough time when I was breaking down and everything was changing and everything sucked and I was not like functioning as a person. But like, there have been so many times where I've had to do that for him. And I'm in a time right now in my life where I have to do that for him. And like, we're able to mold to like what the other person needs. And it's a really cool thing. So since then, things have definitely gone up and down and like gotten worse and gotten better. And I definitely have seen every day that goes by that marriage is so serious. And like, I definitely expected that. Like, I didn't go into getting married thinking it was just gonna be some easy thing, but it's definitely starting to play out, and it definitely tests you. And I think for my 1-year marriage update that I posted a year ago, I was definitely in a lot less of a mature place, if that makes sense. Like, I think I had gone through a lot less in my marriage, but like, now that it's been 2 years, like this year has really tested me and really tested Emin. And like, we've had some really, really intense like arguments and fights and like things that you just don't ever think you're gonna go through. Like, people always hide their relationship problems, and like, you never really know how it is being married to somebody or fighting with somebody that you love until you're in it. And then you're in it, and it's so scary because like, you can be the most supporting, loving couple in the world. You can like not name call or be rude to the other person. Like, you can have the healthiest fights ever. And I don't even know if I have that, but like, I assume that you can have those and still it can feel so lonely. Like, in movies and TV, I feel like they always try to convince you that like love is perfect and easy. There's never like this accurate representation, I feel like, of relationships where it's just this up and down. And so over the course of my marriage, I have felt so crazy and scared so many times because I'm like, relationships aren't perfect. Like, I've felt embarrassed and wrong and like I'm failing at everything for fighting with my husband or having any problems, but that's just like not realistic and it brings you closer. So I feel like even though we've been through a really, really rough year the past year, we have gotten 100 times closer because of it. And I've learned to trust him more, and I think he's learned to trust me more, and I've learned to speak my mind more. And I don't know. The past year was crazy, but it's definitely starting to get better. So where we're at in life right now, where we're at in our marriage right now, he's struggling a lot mentally. I'm struggling a lot mentally, which doesn't usually happen. Like I said earlier, usually one of us is struggling at a time and we're able to like support the other person. But right now, like at least in the past couple months, like we were both struggling at the same time. And so things got really weird recently. And we temporarily moved back in with his parents, and I don't really know what we were expecting or what we were planning to do. I don't think we really had any expectations. We were just like, okay, let's get out of LA and see what happens. But it definitely has showed us that it's important to be alone. Like, we have roommates in LA, and that's a big reason why we came out here, because like we wanted to get out of the roommate situation. But like, we essentially have roommates now because we're living with his whole family, and we haven't had like any alone time at all in the past 2 months almost. And so that's just really making me think about when we used to live alone. Like, in December of 2019, when we first got married, we moved into our first apartment together, and it was so exciting to like furnish the whole thing and decorate it and sit on the couch together and watch movies. And we bought so much like Munster cheese and sparkling water. I remember that was like something we were having all the time. And then we had our own house in Nashville after that, and it was the first time we had like a house together because we were moving from an apartment. And I remember we would take our dog on walks at like the park, and there were these super cute coffee shops and restaurants nearby. And I remember there was just such a sense of possibility in that time because it was like, damn, we're in a house, like we're adults. But I just like really miss that time in life. And honestly, a big thing that I'm learning about myself recently is that I always romanticize a different part of my life. I just constantly am finding some part of my life to look back on and be like, oh, that was the good old days. Like, that was so great. That was so fun. And I know damn well that in 6 months, I'm gonna look back on right now and be like, oh, that was so good. That was so fun. I miss it so much, which is so annoying. Like, I kind of wish I didn't do that, but I'm gonna try to get better at it. So anyway, it's our 2-year anniversary. We decided to go to a hotel. We decided to get some alone time. We walked around the hotel a little bit. We explored it because it was a super fancy hotel and it was really funny. We did not belong there. And then we went to dinner at this steakhouse. And guys, this is so funny to me. We walked into the steakhouse and it's like a fancy restaurant, like a very nice restaurant. There's literally a sign in the front that says dress business casual. And I walked in wearing jeans and I felt so embarrassed. But anyway, we walk up to the counter and then Emin's like, hi, we have an appointment at 8:45. And she looked at him, she was like, a reservation? It was so funny because Emmett just says the wrong words all the time, like in his daily life, and it's hilarious. Then we wanted to go see the new Spider-Man movie because everybody's talking about it. I've never even seen the other ones. I've only seen the Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield Spider-Mans. Like, I've seen all of those multiple times, but I've never seen the Tom Holland ones. And I'm kind of embarrassed to admit that because I know they're really good and like everybody says they're the best one. And we go to the movie theater and this is like the most popular movie right now. So I don't know why we decided to do this, but they like oversold the theater or something. So we had seats Q26 and Q27 and some guy had Q27. I don't know if that was a mistake. I don't know if we could have fixed it, but we honestly didn't want to deal with it. Like, the movie theater was packed. It was 100% full. So we just left, which is kind of sucks because we drove like 30 minutes to the movie theater just to see it. And we thought that would be the least packed movie theater, but it definitely was not. And then we went back to the hotel and we started to watch the first of the Spider-Man trilogy of the new movies, but then Emin fell asleep, which is so funny because he always makes fun of me for falling asleep in movies because I don't really like watching movies and I feel like I can't always stay awake during movies, but he was the one who was like, oh, Dani, I can't stay awake. We need to go to bed. Like, it was 1 in the morning and he couldn't finish the movie and there was like another hour left. It's fine. Emin and I have been through a lot in the past 2 years, and a lot of people ask me like if I regret getting married young. A lot of people predict that I'm gonna get a divorce and they say it to my face, which is really nice. People criticize us. People think I'm weird. Like, there's a lot of bad stuff that comes with being married young because, like, statistically it doesn't always work out, which I understand. I totally get it. It doesn't work out for most people, and I get why it's hard. We are literally out here growing up at the same time, going through our 20s at the same time, and like learning about ourselves at the same time. But happy anniversary to me. I love you guys. I'll see you in a couple days. Goodbye.